kind of whiffed on this whole thing. So Nick Wright came on the show yesterday and talked about, hey, GM took a big swing, missed, get rid of him.
Aaron Rodgers has actually made this incredibly easy for the Packers. You just fire Brian Gutekunst. It's not that hard. And by the way, oh, Nick, that's unfair. What has he done? I'll tell you exactly what he's done. He took a massive swing and a massive risk to remake the team in his image last year in the draft. And Gutekunst made a bet that Rodgers would show significant decline in 2020 and that he would look like a genius for being ahead of it. Well, sometimes when you make a big bet, you lose.
All of this is fair. Brian Gutekunst severely underestimated Aaron's personality and reaction to the pick. He underestimated Aaron's ability because he won MVP. They thought he was eroding. And he underestimated the backlash. Everybody's kind of pro-Aaron, anti-Packer. So if you draft Jordan Love, you need to consider a lot of things. What's Aaron going to be like? Can Jordan Love play fast if this blows up? The media fan backlash. That matters, by the way. Do I change the way I draft? If it blows up, I can't have a bunch of developmental offensive linemen. I need players that help Jordan Love fast. And if you look when they drafted Jordan Love, if you look at the last two drafts, they've taken a backup running back, 6 offensive linemen, only 1 a high pick, all development, a backup tight end, a quarterback that won't play. I mean, they've taken a lot of a cornerback from Georgia that's a reach. He's a developmental first-round corner. They've taken a lot of developmental guys. Well, if Aaron leaves, you don't need developmental guys. You need players, or this trade's going to look worse. So I can make the argument Brian Gutekunst has butchered this. He underestimated Aaron's reaction, Jordan's ability to play sooner. They made the draft last couple of years more developmental than instant guys who can help. But I wouldn't fire him. And here's why. Because Brian went to Wisconsin. He is, except for 1 year he was a scout somewhere else, he's a Packer for life. He does a fine job. He fits their nature. He is what they are. He's going to work for Green Bay for another 20 years. He looks 21 as it is. I don't know how old he is, probably 40. He's a Packer for life. I mean, when Green Bay, Ted Thompson left, he didn't even interview a candidate outside the building. So he is of the nature of Green Bay. Aaron's not. Remember that movie Shawshank Redemption? Some birds are not meant to be caged. Their feathers are too bright. Aaron's got an ego. Packers are egoless. Aaron's California cool. They wear cheeseheads. This was never going to work. It's remarkable it's lasted 16 years. I think so much of this is Brian Gutekunst is a nice guy, a Packer for life. They just didn't get it. Of course they didn't get it. Of course he can't relate to Aaron Rodgers. Of course he massively underestimated how Aaron would react. They were cheeseheads. This is the Green Bay way. He's a Packer. He's a Badger. I'm not taking a shot at him. But he will be around for 25 years. He'll never have to say, this is why I drafted an offensive lineman in the 5th round who's 3 years from playing. That's what Green Bay does. They're great at it. That doesn't fit what Aaron is, which is, I need to win now. I'm 37. I've had 2 collarbone surgeries. So I don't, first of all, I don't like saying fire people. But in this instance, you're talking about an older player and a younger general manager, and one of them fits the ethos, the work ethic, the vision of the Packers. Just keep him around. He butchered this one. You do have a right to butcher stuff. Every GM, Bill Polian, 6-time exec of the year, butchered picks. This is imperfect. Belichick can't draft a wide receiver to save his life. He butchered it. Jordan's not as good and prepared as we thought. It ticked off Aaron Rodgers. Your last couple of drafts have been more about developmental players than guys that can help you, and you keep going to NFC championships. Get dudes. Look at San Francisco 2 years ago. Look at Tampa now. You don't have enough dudes. So I don't know. Of course they screwed this up. I don't think Aaron's ever been ideally built for Green Bay. And I think Brian Gutekunst is Green Bay. So I wouldn't get rid of him. Matt Nagy, the Bears, around the corner. This came out, by the way. So Fox Bet, FanDuel, they wait until kind of after the draft usually to give you the over-unders. Now, gambling is not for everybody. Over-unders basically mean Fox Bet will give you a number, 17-game season, they'll give you 9.5 Cleveland. And it is you as a gambler, as a bettor, that says, I think they're going to win 10 or more. Then you bet what's called the over. If you're like, I don't know, that defense, I don't know, that division's good, then I think they're going to win less than 9.5. They're going to go the under. So what we did as a staff is we took all the Fox Bet over-under numbers. This is what they're predicting the standings to be. Now, in many instances, teams in the same division had the same number. So we went even deeper. Alex did a very good job on this. Then he went and looked at the Fox Bet division winning odds. And so even though teams would both be 9.5 in the same division, one would have slightly better odds, Rams over the Niners in the NFC West. So we put them ahead. And then in some instances, we got down to Chargers in New England, and it was almost the same. But then we went even deeper into other odds about making the playoffs, and the Chargers were a slightly better bet than New England to make the playoffs, so we used that. So using the data from Fox Bet, here's how they see the playoffs happening. So let's do the AFC East. Let's do the AFC first. So here's the AFC. We're done with coaching. We're done with free agency. We're done with the draft. Buffalo, New England, Miami, New York. Bills win the division. New England second. Miami third. New York fourth. I mostly agree. I do think Buffalo over is the best bet in that division. Let's go to the AFC North. They have Baltimore winning the division, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. Now, I think Cleveland is going to win the division. However, I do believe if you look at their schedule, they got New England on it, Green Bay on it, Kansas City on it. I want to wait until next Wednesday night to see the schedule, because it could be, if they get Andy Reid early, Packers, New England late, it may not work out. But I would switch that. I would have Cleveland 1, Baltimore 2. I think they're both decent over bets. Now let's go to the AFC South. I think this Indy wins it. Tennessee next. I'm not as high on Tennessee. I think they take a step back. Jacksonville third, Houston fourth. I'm fine with the order. I just disagree with Fox Bet. I think Tennessee and Jacksonville are a little closer than we think, but the order is fine. And then the AFC West, I'm totally in line with it. Kansas City wins it by a couple of games. Chargers next. I'd bet the over on the Chargers. Denver, and then Las Vegas. So I don't have a problem with that. So now let's go to the NFC. NFC East over-unders. Dallas winning it by a game over Washington. Giants third, Philadelphia fourth. I'm okay with the order. I am. I think Washington, Dallas can both go over. I think they played the last 2 weekends to decide it. Washington, great defense, great coach. Dallas, average coach, great offense. But I do think their defense will be better. So I'm okay with the order. I'd have to sleep on it. But I do think Dallas, Washington, New York, Philadelphia works for me. Let's now go to the NFC North. Now, the Packers are actually off the board. You can't bet them now. But this order I'm okay with. I think if Chicago knew when Justin Fields was going to play, I could like him at second, but they don't. And I think Minnesota is an absolute bounce-back team in the NFL. I've said that, so the order doesn't bother me. Then we go to the NFC South. It's Tampa, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with the order. I think New Orleans, like the Titans, is not as good as the odds makers think. They don't know who the quarterback is. They had to get rid of some players, gambled a little in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta and Carolina, who are going to have very robust offenses this year, one of those ends up second. I'm not bothered by the order, but the Saints and the Titans, I'm a little cool on. And then we go to the NFC West. Rams, San Francisco, Seattle, Arizona. I think what you're betting on here is Stafford is healthier than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that's the bet. And by the way, they're both at 10.5 wins, but the Niners are plus 200.